The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, everybody. This is Jamie Shanks at Sales for Life, and we are going to put together an incredible webinar. And this webinar is very tactical. I am going to give you tips, tricks, tactics to be able to book meetings using tools like LinkedIn, using tools like Vidyard's Viewed It, or LinkedIn's new Point Drive. All of this in an effort to help you book a new meeting, create new opportunities. So strap in. This is going to be very quick. I want to be able to help you within 30 minutes. I'm going to take the webcam off. Just wanted to be able to say hi and introduce myself, and let's get right into it. So webcam's off. We're now recording this. Let's rock and roll. Just so you know who I am, again, my name is Jamie Shanks. I'm the CEO of Sales for Life. And so you understand who Sales for Life is. We are the global authority in social selling and digital selling. We've trained over 75,000 sales professionals around the world, companies like Microsoft, ADP, Thomson Reuters, Sprint, all of these great companies. And in the next 30 minutes, what I'm going to do is then share some of the proven tactics and strategies that these global companies are using every single day. Now, basically, what Grant Cardone is, he's put us together, and this is why he's reached out to us. He personally wants to ensure that we partner up with his particular audience and to give the best of social selling tips, tricks, and tactics and strategies. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to dive in, and the very first thing that we have to cover is, like, why did Grant reach out to me? Like, why does he care? And that's important to understand the backstory, because you are also going to go through a very similar transformation that I went through. So here's my story. I was the VP of sales at a SaaS software company in Toronto, Canada. I had helped company A and then company B raise capital. It was successful, and frankly, I thought I knew what I was doing, and I said on January 1st, 2010, I said to my boss, I'm going to leave my job and I'm going to start a consulting firm, because I'm going to teach other Toronto-based companies. Yes, I'm from Toronto, Canada. You can probably hear in the accent. I'm going to help Toronto-based companies with inside sales best practices. That sounded like a great idea, except 18 months later, I was getting ready to file for bankruptcy. And I was going to file for bankruptcy because I didn't eat my own dog food. I didn't build an online presence. I didn't build a sustainable pipeline. I must have slept through cash flow analysis in MBA school. But this all came to head in March of 2011. What had happened was I was going into the office of one of my few remaining customers, and that company got caught with fraud and embezzlement. They owed me $35,000, which was basically all the money in the world to me at the time. But I was about to leave to go get married in Liberia, Costa Rica. So this is in the background. You can see this is an actual wedding photo. We flew to Costa Rica, and I'm now on the flight telling my soon-to-be wife, by the way, when we get home, we have nothing. I have to let go of my employees. I have to start all over again. The problem was, and I didn't realize it at the time, I was an analog seller in an old school way of selling. So we fly from Liberia, Costa Rica to Paris, France for our honeymoon. We're on the Champs-Élysées. My wife's buying purses and champagne. And when we get home, I realize we're going to have a complete breakdown. We have to sell off everything. I have to get rid of employees. I have to start from scratch. And that was a huge problem. But what I learned about myself, the spring and summer of 2011, I have barely any business. I almost don't have a job. I have no money. There's two paths in life. Path A is to flight, right? Run back, maybe go back and take a job. I didn't know what I was going to do, or just sit in a corner and cry. Or I could change. And so I would sit in front of a computer night after night. I can't sleep. I can't eat. Didn't know what to do, but I would have LinkedIn open. Now, LinkedIn, there was no such thing as the word social selling. There were no online courses at the time. But what I self-discovered night after night were these hacks, these tips, these back doors that I used to be able to create what you're seeing in front of you today. I helped innovate this new way of digital selling. And here's why you should care. In every industry in the world, in every country in the world, there is going to be a maturation process of analog to digital. This graph was built by LinkedIn at their 2016 LinkedIn Sales Connect event. The customers are ours. Now you could say to yourself, well, we're in the manufacturing space. Nobody in our industry is doing this. That would make you an early innovator, early adopter. That in lies an opportunity. If you're in the telecom space, if you are a technology company, you are no longer there anymore. You are what's known as early majority. Now that poses itself as a risk. The maturation curve, you can argue where you are on that curve, but the curve is going to happen. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you could debate when the timeline is going to happen. But the word social selling will not exist because it will just be called selling. And why should you care is because after we've trained 300 companies around the world, here is the empirical evidence. Those that apply digital to their sales process outperform those that sell the same way they had before. Phone, email, phone, email, phone, email. The digital person will outperform the non-digital person by 20% within 6 months. Imagine 20% more pipeline, 20% more revenue, times the number of sellers that you have. Forrester's done studies on this, and it's very clear that this is another tool in your tool belt to book more meetings, to create deeper relationships, to increase the velocity it takes to get into an account, but shorten the timeline it takes to win it. All the data is there. And you can keep finding it online. Just Google social selling, and you're going to find all this great data. So the mindset here is I need to change because companies around me and buyers around me have already changed. These are examples of customers of ours, and what I'd like you to understand are the 3 tips I'm going to show you today are what sales professionals are already doing. This is not pie in the sky stuff. These are tips that we invented or do, or our sales professionals at their team invented and showed us, and we're giving it back to the community. Just before I jump into the tips, you have to understand that there's an empirical correlation between learning a new skill, applying that skill in the market, and then creating revenue for yourself. CA Technologies, a customer of ours over 3 years, had the same theory I have had since I started this business. I believe that people that are willing to learn a new skill, apply it, will probably outperform those on status quo. So they actually used our certification program as that litmus test. And what they did is they measured everybody that started the program and then graduated, became a social selling master, versus those that gave up halfway. Because guess what? There are quitters. There will be sales professionals that just are unwilling to change. Within 6 months, those that completed the certification had 38% more revenue than those that didn't. And it actually has nothing to do with social selling. It has to do with your mindset and willingness to learn new skills because the world is evolving around you. That's why you should care. So now let's jump into what is social selling before we get into the tips. Social selling is about meeting the buyer halfway or 3/4 of the way or 1/3 of the way. You can debate where on the journey it is, but meeting the buyer along their journey, which they are then using digital as part of arming themselves with information to make informed decisions. And helping them along the journey, you're going to use 3 sales tactics that you've been using your whole life, except you've probably been doing the analog version. And let me give you examples. There's triggers, insights, and referrals. You've been selling this way forever, but in an analog world as a trigger, you know empirically that some of the best customers you've ever won were users of your product or solution at another company, but they up and left, jumped to a new company, and when they got there, they brought you in and they brought your company in for a deal. Except in the digital world, I can actually build a search that automatically emails me every time somebody leaves my customer base and moves on to an account I don't have. So I'm just doing the same thing but digitizing it. Another example is insights-based selling. Forever, I could have cut an article out of a newspaper, called up Grant Cardone and said, Grant, you just said this in the Wall Street Journal. But now I can make a video. I can create an infographic. I could talk about him on a podcast. I can use digital information to share insights with him and then also monitor the engagement. I can actually see when Grant opens them. I can see when he's engaged. And referral-based selling should be obvious, everyone. I didn't invent referral-based selling, except I can digitize it, where I can go into Grant or Jared's social network and within 5 minutes determine every CEO that Grant knows within Miami. That is what social selling is all about, just digitizing your sales process. So let's actually get into the live tips. Tip number 1 is the one that I truly believe is a 10x. This, from our customers around the world, is what creates the millions and millions and millions of dollars of pipeline and revenue in very short order. Why? Because the average North American employee right now only keeps their job for 2.5 years. So the more customers you have, the more and especially the more complex your sale, the more buyers in the buying committee there are, right? So you may sell to a CFO, an operator, a president, the procurement department. You're selling to a committee. But what's happening is, for whatever reason, they hate their job, they don't like their manager, they up and they leave, and they move to new companies. But when they get there, your advocates get to new customers that in lies opportunities. So let me show you in real time how we do this. So under the company search, what I'm going to look up are past, not current. I'm actually going to look up people I no longer work at our customers. And I talked about a few of our customers. So let's go Microsoft. And let's look up Sprint. And we'll do one more, and we'll look up ADP. Okay. So we've taken our customers and we're looking for people that no longer work there. And in fact, there are 394,000 of those people. Now, that's a lot of people. I can't keep up with that. So I need to filter this to a title. So let's go Vice President of Sales. Okay, that's my buyer persona. Okay, and let's just keep it at that. Let's keep it simple. And of course, I could segment that by geography. I could say that I need to only focus in on people in certain industries or certain postal codes. I only want to look up Miami as an example. We could slice and dice this information, and trust me, we have an entire module that spends an hour on the 6 different ways to slice and dice customers or prospective customers into prospecting lists. But here's what you're able to do. I'm going to hit search. And now I'm a sales professional on your team. I build a list. I take my list of all of our customers who are advocates, okay, and then I look at where they've migrated. So all of these people worked at customers of ours, but have moved on to accounts I don't yet have as a customer. One of the best parts of all this, and in fact, that's, there's Mitch at Ring Central. When we won Ring Central, he knew some stories of customers that we worked with in the past. But what you're seeing here is a historical record of people that have left your customer base. But imagine, and I'm going to expand the screen for you, imagine if I was building a search of people leaving our customers in real time. And I had this report sent to me, whether it was daily, weekly, monthly. It's sending me this report that says, okay, we have 100 accounts around the world or in the state of Louisiana. If anybody leaves from the finance department or a C-level executive leaves one of those customers and goes somewhere else, I want to know about it, because that in lies the opportunity. We could do this all day long, and I know from the time we only have 15 minutes left in this webinar. What this does is it gives you a real-time report of any future job changes. It keeps you abreast of these opportunities. But it allows you to go beyond this. I can leverage Twitter as an example. So for Twitter, which is a giant noise box, instead of just looking at your entire stream or following people, which it just becomes a large voice here, I can't keep up with it all. What I'm able to do is create lists. And so let's actually create a list of companies. So we use, as an example, let's say you're in the food services, you sell into the food services space. You can start creating targeted lists of your customers or prospective customers. And instead of following them all, what I'm able to do is put them into a list. So let's call add or remove to list. And let's actually make a new list called food services. Okay. And this will be my private list of food services clients. And I've put Freshie in here, and maybe we'll go, let's choose another. Let's go Wendy's as an example. So what it allows me to do is I start tagging all of the customers that I want from a trigger standpoint. Let's go to food services and then close this. And what it allows me to do as a sales professional is to use Twitter effectively. So what I'm able to do then is now come into on a mobile phone or into your social account here and come to your lists and just focus in on what's important to you. So now when I come to my food services customers, my accounts that I'm either prospective accounts or existing customers, their information is here. So I'm looking for a trigger. Did they build a new office? Did they launch a new product? Did they raise capital? All of these triggers that give me a reason to have a conversation. And if you, as an example, sell more human resources based information, you could use tools like Glassdoor. Glassdoor is an incredible way to create triggers around people leaving, a company that has a high churn rate, problems that they're having from a cultural level. Glassdoor allows you to tag all of your customers and see what are the employees or previous employees saying about that account to give you a trigger for a conversation based on their culture. So these are just quick examples of leveraging triggers. And some of our customers within 4 months are able to turn this on and mechanize it to create millions of dollars of pipeline and revenue. Now here's what I'd like to do is show you 2 great tips based on insights-based selling. Okay, why should I care? I should care because Forrester and Corporate Visions did an incredible study that showed that 3/4 of deals are awarded to you, not your company, but you, the sales professional, because you were first to bring value and insight. Basically, it's like the movie Inception. If you plant a seed in somebody's mind, it starts to germinate. And as it germinates, they recall that memory 3 months from now, 6 months from now, and they say, oh yeah, that social selling topic. Yeah, and I think it's going to be applicable for our company. Who should I reach out to with? Well, I remember Jamie Shanks talked to me about that. That's how it works. So you want to be on the forefront of teaching people things they don't already know. Push them off their status quo. And in fact, Chet Holmes' organization basically is correlated to the reality that especially in complex selling, most of your buyers aren't active. Most of your buyers aren't ready to buy today. So what are you doing with the rest of the 90%? You need to nurture them. You need to help them along a journey. Also because Forrester knows that a customer is going to consume multiple pieces of insights before they're ready to buy. Just think about when you go to build a car online. You'll shop engine sizes and models, and you'll go onto Motor Trend and Car and Driver, and you'll do your due diligence. Well, a B2B buyer does the same thing. And that's your risk or opportunity in the market. You can either be a laggard, not share insights, not push buyers off their status quo, and not teach a buyer. But guess what? The buyer is going to learn with or without you. But there are companies that use that as an opportunity to shape the journey. And that's what I want you to do. And what I'm going to show you first is a tool that you can use to be able to aggregate and store great insights. This is a free tool called Feedly. Feedly has competitors, whether it's Tumblr, Buffer, Flipboard. What it allows me to do is to create categories. So this is my personal one. You can see that topics of interest to me: social selling, sales leadership, general business, a kind of top of the funnel business development. I'm rebuilding a classic car. So what I'm able to do is go into social selling, and I've tagged all kinds of great sites. And as an example, I want to read about a topic, or I like a particular blog site like Harvard Business Review or Grant Cardone's information. And every time that they publish information, the blog shows up in real time here. And it allows me to take this article and share it socially. But that's one way of looking at this. I want to help you take this to a whole other level. I believe that in the future, just sharing an article like this, like flinging it over a fence and say, take a look at this article, isn't going to be good enough. What the future sales professional needs to be is somebody that can contextualize the market and best practices, basically become a trusted advisor by humanizing it for people. The future is going to be you being able to take all kinds of great information and putting it in front of the customer in a human way. And there's a free tool that I'd like you to check out called Vidyard Viewed. What this tool allows you to do is this tool is going to allow me to take this particular article that Grant Cardone wrote, and I can send it to a buyer, but then measure, did they look at it? What did they watch? What is their interest level? The use cases are incredible. I could use this at the top of the funnel to send out best practices, send it to 20 accounts and determine who's engaged, who's interested, so I know from a lead standpoint. Or I could be deeper into the funnel where I'm trying to overcome the dead zone. I'm struggling to get a new conversation going with a customer, so I'm sharing insights with them to re-engage them. So here's how it works. I'm actually going to make a video right now. So I come onto a tool exactly like this, and it takes a second to render. Maybe it won't actually do it because we're on this GoToWebinar. But what it allows me to do is this tool is going to allow me to make a video. Let's see if I'm able to record here. Oh, I might not be able to record it. I can make a video in real time, recording myself talking about this very article, and then be able to send this information out to people. So what I'd recommend is check out this particular tool. I wish I could use it right now, but it's probably pretty difficult with a webinar. And you can see previous videos that I've made. I'll answer questions with videos. I'll make videos in response to people. It allows me to take this and I can share it via Google. I can share it all kinds of different ways through social and measure their engagement. But going beyond that, imagine now if I then started to embed this into microsites, into free microsites. And let me show you exactly what I mean here. So let's go back to use cases. It's not going to be good enough for you to just email somebody, say, take a look at this article. That's not good enough. Imagine if I started using these tools like LinkedIn's Point Drive, where in fact I'm sharing best practices. This is an example of we're talking about us growing our organization here at Sales for Life. And instead of a candidate just getting a job posting, they're landing on a microsite here that I can customize in 5 minutes that gives them a sense of our corporate culture, what is it like to work in the sales community, where is our office in Toronto, Canada, all of this information. Another use case, our sales team will use this to send documents and proposals. Imagine you're doing a pitch and the customer says, send me a proposal. Well, instead of just sending them a PDF and wondering, well, where did that ever go? Miriam on our team, as an example, will send the proposal with a customized video using Vidyard Viewed. The proposal deck itself, and maybe even some future best practices around account-based sales development. The secret sauce here is not just the tool, but how you organize it, because the reports will actually show you who's looking at it, what are they looking at, what pages are they spending time on, and it allows you to concentrate on, oh great, I sent this to the VP of sales and he forwarded it to finance, or he forwarded this to procurement. It's registering every LinkedIn profile of people that touch this. So from a use case standpoint, if you're trying to create business development, you can use this as a fishing with a net exercise, where you create a point drive based on topics, best practices, what if scenarios, case studies, and you send that out to prospects and you measure and you segment accounts based on interest level. You basically go into your reports and determine, okay, I sent it to 10 companies in Miami. 3 of them are highly engaged on the topic of X, Y, and Z. Now I'm going to reach out to them via phone and email to further the conversation. Or you might use this deeper in your account cycle, where all of a sudden you're in discovery mode, proposals, contracts. You can now custom tailor all of this information for people, and this takes minutes to build this. And it's all free if you have a LinkedIn Navigator account to be able to give this information to people. So what I wanted to be able to do today, everybody, in this short hour and a half an hour, is show you ways of using triggers, using insights, and I really do wish I could make you a video right now using this tool taking video-based information, sharing it and contextualizing it with people, and or microsite information built directly into LinkedIn, and being able to determine who's interested, who's not, who's engaged. Now I have a much better armed as a digital seller to know where I want to concentrate my efforts. So I know I did rapid fire in 25 minutes of these quick tips. When I come back to the deck, I just want to make sure that I answer a few questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn back on my webcam. I know that I was talking quickly. I want to see if there are any questions from people and be able to help them. So anybody that has a question, just write it back out and I'll answer some of the questions. So Michael, you're asking what is the name of this tool? I think you were probably asking about the video-based tool, which is called Vidyard's Viewed It. And it's a Chrome extension that you can download for free. Next question is, okay, I got the video question. Did we record this webinar? Absolutely. So team, ask me any social selling question. We have a few more minutes. I want to be able to help you out, whether it's triggers, insights, referrals, how to be able to quickly get in and out of an account really quickly and open up opportunities. How would I use this in real estate sales? So you might not know this, but this is where I started my career. I was in commercial real estate. And the biggest thing about the real estate space is about building trust as an advisor. One of the things that I would get into quickly is around insights-based selling. What I would be doing is using tools like Point Driver Video, making best practice videos, what if scenarios, market industry analysis videos, help people in your local community see you as a trusted advisor. And then as you share it via email or whatever medium you want to distribute this with, you can measure the engagement. Who's looking at it? Who's not looking at it? So imagine you had a geographic area and you started sending it to people within that geographic area. You can determine the houses and the families using these tools that are engaged in understanding best practices or the market conditions in real estate. It'd be an incredible way of you not only being on the forefront of insights, but then measuring engagement. So other questions, what are the best ways to engage a contact from a current client that has moved but you've never built a relationship? It is actually known as the sphere of influence. So the sphere of influence helps you start that conversation based on a success story. So we do it all the time. Imagine that we've won a customer. So I've got an iPhone. We win Apple as a customer. You reverse engineer the social proximity around that account and you apply what is known as sphere of influence. So I'm looking for people that no longer work at Apple, the relationships, the people that work at Apple, their competitors, their vendors, and so forth. And we're reaching out to people that care about the story of Apple. So to your question is, what if I reach out to previous employees of my customer base, but they don't know who I am? But you still have a great advocate or story. So you're calling them and saying, listen, I noticed that 4 months ago you used to work at Apple. You might not realize this, but we were the company that built the glass systems for the Apple. Now I noticed that you moved on to another phone manufacturer. What is your solution? What is your process, the people that you're using? I mean, because you knew what was successful at Apple. I recognize you may not know them, but you have a story that can create a contextual conversation, and that's where you want to start with it. One of the questions is, hey Jamie, I work for a startup selling to restaurant and the hospitality space, which is typically a very analog space. I used to sell software into that space, I remember it. How do I leverage digital selling into that very analog market? So one of the important pieces you have to overcome is be where the buyer is. If the buyer is not going to consume insights inside LinkedIn or Twitter, as an example, now they probably do within Facebook or Instagram, you want to actually develop insights using tools like this, but actually share it in the mediums that they're accustomed to consuming. So if it is an example, if you sell into the restaurant and hospitality space, they are accustomed with Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook. But that doesn't preclude you from creating insights via video, via tools like these point drives, but there are other tools like it, where you're sharing best practices, but giving it within the medium that they're accustomed to consuming. Don't think of LinkedIn and Twitter as the end all be all of where I need to actually do my selling. You could just be acquiring information there, but actually using other technology to sell back into that space. And last question is, I'm just looking at the time. Here's a question. Do you have experience using these strategies to promote a home-based tier one direct selling business? I don't. So just for everybody to understand contextually, my entire life I've only sold business to business. So I've sold to small businesses, like micro businesses, small entrepreneurs like myself, all the way to the largest companies in the world like Microsoft. So everything here is from the context of selling back to another business. But everybody, it is 12:30, or it's 1:30, I apologize. Want to be able to cut out. If you have any further questions or concerns, you can reach out to me via LinkedIn. My name is Jamie Shanks, CEO of Sales for Life. We'll help you answer any of these questions offline to help you along the journey of moving from an analog seller to a digital seller. Thanks a lot, everybody. I hope that you saw value in this kind of quick webinar.